boys and girls, and happy Sabbath. I am so excited to be here with you for another Nature Nugget. And this week's Nature Nugget animal is super fun, and I can't wait to share some amazing facts with you. So let's go over the clues for this week's Nature Nugget animal. Clue number 1. They can beat their wings 200 beats per second. And clue number 2. They have 5 eyes. What animal did God create that has 5 eyes and their wings can beat 200 beats per second? That is pretty fast. Well, if you guessed the honeybee, that is correct. This week's Nature Nugget animal is all about the honeybee. This week's Bible verse comes from Psalms 133, verse 1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. So let's start out by listening to what the sound that a bee makes. Well, those were some busy bees, weren't they? Let me tell you about some busy bees and what they have been up to recently. Yesterday, each of these bees made 10 trips, and each of them visited 400 flowers. Did you know that they had to visit 4,200 flowers just to make 1 tablespoon of honey? Did you know that I didn't hear one of them complain that it was too hard, or that they were too tired, or that the effort wasn't worth it? They just buzzed away and did what God made them to do. Honeybees have doubled the number of receptors in the brain that help them to smell. They use these to communicate with each other in the hive and for finding food. They are able to tell hundreds of different flowers apart from several meters and whether they are good for pollinating or gathering nectar. The buzzing sound bees makes comes from their rapid wing stroke, which is about 200 beats per second. Bees can fly for 6 miles without stopping and up to 15 miles per hour. The average worker bee produces only about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in their lifetime. A hive of bees will fly 90,000 miles, the equivalent of 3 orbits around the Earth, to collect 1 kilogram of honey. A honey bee visits 50 to 100 flowers during a collection trip. A colony of bees consists of 20,000 to 60,000 honeybees and 1 queen. Worker bees live for about 6 weeks and do all the work. The queen bee can live up to 5 years, and her role is to fill the hive with eggs. She is very busy in the summer, and when the hive needs to be at its maximum strength, she can lay up to 2,500 eggs per day. The drones fertilize the eggs and feed the larvae. No bee is more important than another, because the hive would die if they stopped doing what they do. Each honeybee colony has a unique odor, which works like a password or security code. Queen bees come from eggs in cells that hang vertically in the honeycomb. The cells that queen bee eggs develop in are filled with extra food. This is how they develop into a perfect female bee and are able to lay eggs unlike other female bees in the hive. Queen bees can lay as many as 2,000 eggs a day. They lay the most amount of eggs in the spring and early summer. Queen bees live as long as 5 years, but are most productive in the first 2 years. After an older, failing queen bee is replaced with her daughter, she can still continue to live in the hive. Let's talk a little bit about the worker bee. Worker bees can be as many as 60,000 in the peak of summer. They are the most populous bees in the colony. They develop in the smallest cells in the hive and are female bees that do not lay eggs. Worker bees develop and emerge in 19 to 22 days. After about 10 days, worker bees start to leave the hive to practice flying. They then start leaving the hive to collect nectar. Sometimes they collect water for the colony. Worker bees live about 4 to 6 weeks. If born in the fall, they will survive up to 6 months in order to sustain the colony during the winter. Next, let's talk about the drone bees. Drone bees are male bees. They first appear in the colony in late spring. Drones help produce heat in the hive, but they do not do much else. Because of this, not many drones are needed. If too many drones occupy the colony, they can cause problems as they consume food. Drone bees leave the hive to find a queen bee to mate with. They travel very far from the hive. They meet and mate with a queen bee about 30 to 50 feet above the ground. In late summer, worker bees will start to destroy the cells containing new drone bees. They can start to drive the living drone bees out of the hive where they will eventually die. So bees are shorter than a teaspoon and move about 20 miles per hour. They have 6 legs and they have 2 compound eyes. Compound eyes have thousands of lenses in them, and they also have 3 simple eyes on the top of their heads, giving them a total of, that's right, 5 eyes. Honeybees have 2 pairs of wings that beat at 200 beats per second, a nectar pouch, and a stomach. The nectar pouch helps them carry nectar to the hive to make honey. Honeybees have 170 ornate receptors, which is more than other common insects. This helps them find flowers. Although the bee brain is the size of a sesame seed, it has a remarkable memory and can make decisions to the quickest and most efficient ways to work. The different type of bees have different body shapes to help them complete their jobs. Let's talk now a little bit about their nest. Honeybee hives are made of 6-sided tubes. This shape is the best because it can hold the most honey, but needs the least amount of wax to cover it. Bees build hives in hollow trees, rock crevices, and other enclosed places. Honeybees create the hives by molding the wax that they have chewed until it is moldable. Now let's talk about the yummy, delicious honey. Honey is made from the nectar found in flowers. The average trip to collect nectar takes about an hour. Bees make about 10 trips a day. The bee leaves the nectar with a house bee who regulates the fluid over and over for about 10 to 15 minutes before placing it in a cell. The air in the hive continues to dry the liquid out. The honey bee feeds adults and baby bees over the winter. There are many different colors and flavors of honey. This depends on the flower's nectar where the honey was produced. The Bible tells us that our church family is like a healthy beehive. Everyone has an important part to play in the church, and no one is more important than another. When you smile at that church member, when you join in the singing and prayers, you are bringing joy to everyone around you. One of the reasons beehives work so well is that the bees communicate well with each other, and they work hard to serve and support each other. When they find a good source of pollen, they share the good news with their bee companions, and they gather the nectar together. At home, at school, and at church, God calls you to be just as hardworking and faithful, and to serve others as willingly as the bee. If we all did, can you imagine what God could do through us and through our church? Isn't that an exciting thought? Let's start right here today to live together and to work together in unity. Let's keep the hive healthy. And remember, like the beautiful book Steps to Christ talks about, we can learn more about Jesus in nature. The green fields, the trees, the flowers, the passing clouds, all of it speaks to our heart and invites us to become acquainted with Jesus who made them all, including the very harmonious honeybee. All right, here are your clues for next week's Nature Nugget animal. Clue number 1, their body is covered in armor. And clue number 2, they can hold their breath up to 6 minutes. All right. Good luck, boys and girls, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And I can't wait to join you again next week for another Nature Nugget. Bye!